Today's video is going to be a little different. I'm going to name this video today, it's going to be East Grand Woodsman versus 30,000 caribou. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by East Grand Woodsman meets or versus 30,000 caribou? Today's video is when I was on a caribou hunt in northern Canada, approximately 1,200 miles from here, and I think it was something like 700 miles from the nearest town, village, whatever you want to call it up there. But anyways, 30,000 caribou was coming through our camp, and I was out on this, it's a hillside, it's not really a mountain, but I was standing there with my video camera, and caribou from as far as you could see was coming at me. I mean, they were that way as far as you could see, and they were that way as far as you would see, and they were coming straight at me. And I was thinking, I don't know anything about these animals. I'm a deer hunter. I'm a bear hunter. I don't, what the heck what happens when you spook 30,000 caribou? I don't know. So I stood there, and they kept getting, you'll see in the video, they kept getting closer and closer and closer. Then all of a sudden, I was swallowed up by the entire herd. They came to within, closer than you are with this camera. They came to within 10 feet of me, and they circled me. And for the first time in my life, I really felt like I was a part of nature. For the first time in my life, I really felt like I was a part of Mother Nature. The feelings that I felt as them caribou went by me, and it took quite a while. I want to say 10 or 15 minutes of these caribou. I didn't videotape the whole thing. The trip that I took was back in 1996. There was 10 of us that left Maine and went up. And on this trip we caught lots of brook trout. Got to see experiences that I've never seen. The video cameras back then in 1996 were the size of suitcases, and they came in a suitcase. And you carried a great big videotape with you, as well as these great big batteries that didn't last very long at all. I took about 2 hours worth of video for a 10-day trip. That's what I had enough batteries for, and that's what I had enough videotape for. I've condensed it down as small as I can. I don't want you to sit through the boring stuff. It's all great when it's family and all that, but I didn't, the plane ride and all that. I have little clips in there. What I really want to share with you is the amount of caribou that had surrounded me while I was out with my video camera. No gun. I had a knife, I had a compass, stuff like that, because we're talking 700 miles back into the backcountry of Canada. Big piece of woods, no help other than what was back at the little cabin that we was in. So I hope you enjoy this trip of mine. I really wanted to share the caribou with you, as well as all of the brook trout. If you like to eat brook trout and you like to see brook trout, this video is jam-packed full of caribou and jam-packed full of brook trout. Unbelievable how many trout are in the backcountry of Canada. Good morning. Welcome to my caribou hunt. I'm going to narrate this a little bit. There's a little bit of story behind this ferry. And that's why I think it's important to stop here for a minute. You see that big square thing behind that ship? That's the highway. And this is probably pretty typical in Canada, but it was the first time that I had ever seen it. We was driving along the highway at 55, 60 miles an hour, and you come right to the end of the road, and that ferry is waiting for you. And all that ferry is doing is picking up the vehicles and going to take us across a river. I guess the river was 300 to 400 feet deep. so they could not put a bridge in. So this ferry is sitting there waiting on the highway, and you wait until the ferry fills up, and then once the ferry is full, it makes a trip across the river and drops you off on the other side. There are two ferries that run. One goes one way and one goes the other way. And that's how that highway works. So it was really quite interesting for us boys from a small state in Maine to come across the end of a hot top road that ended on a ferry. So that's why I want to stop. I'm probably running a little long here on this clip, but I thought it was an interesting story behind how travel is in Canada. For my Canadian friends, this might be pretty commonplace for you, but it was new to us. This right here was one of the many power plants that we drove over or drove around. This is a water-powered dam that I guess they produce quite a bit of electricity through.
Hey Dad, you want to say that a little louder?
I got my wife thinking all guns cost 25 to 30 bucks. She don't think no when I come in with 2 or 3 extras. We're going to go up on top of that and go across that.
That's what he said. A lot of concrete up there. Hey, what are you doing in there?
Hey, whether you shade tree mechanic 400 miles from nowhere, changing the engine. Hey! I got a couple on you.
Got a lumber track up here. Get a big crack in the road. What about the halfway mark?
Yeah, what? Oh, look at it. Cool. Yeah. I know I got more. What did you say, Bill, you had for mileage?
Oh, 505.
505.
About 300 miles of this dirt road. We're about halfway to where we need to go to meet the claims.
What's that penny in the middle of that waterfall?
You mean the penny in the $2 bill?
Oh, that's $2 bill?
Oh, $2 bill?
No wonder they thought I was giving them so big of a tip. I just don't have all the change.
You ain't got a dollar? Did you have a dollar with?
No, I don't know. I didn't even look. I just see that bunch of, look like washers to me. It's Monopoly money anyway, it looks like.
That's what it was, you must get out of that.
They make it look like Monopoly money so you won't be spending.
You got a dollar, ain't that?
Yeah, that's a dollar. I don't know, she just had a whole bunch of change like this, and I thought, that's all right.
Good.
I figured, you know,
I didn't have enough to tip.
usually I think of a little change, you know, that. I think it's always less than $1 if they give you back a bunch of nickels or whatever.
Mind a bit? How much was that breakfast?
I think the breakfast is,
$5 breakfast that cost 20 bucks.
I think it was a $3 breakfast. I think I gave a 10 bucks tip. Well, hey, I give her for a tip. I give her
That was breakfast, what about something?
whatever the breakfast cost. It was like $3 or $4, and then I gave her all the change from that from a $10 bill. It's not much. Plus I gave her one of the 5. Same thing. I gave her a couple. Yeah, she only gave me a little handful of change like that. So I gave her back that, and I said, I was going to give her the rest of the $10 for a tip.
Hey, you want to do a commercial now?
So I just gave her what?
Commercial? GMC commercial?
One plug runs on 1,000 miles.
You can say they ain't left.
Huh?
The black flag is not left.
Yeah, they're my snow mosquitoes.
And you think sometimes they eat this 24 hours a day.
Where we are now, we're at the only fuel station on that 300-mile dirt road. And the story you just heard was my father. He didn't realize that all them coins were dollars, and he was leaving great big tips everywhere we stopped to have breakfast and lunch. The waitresses absolutely loved him. He was leaving $10, $15, $20 tips everywhere we went. So I thought that was pretty funny. That's why I left it in this particular video, because it was pretty funny at the time. A couple of people in that video, one of them passed away shortly after this trip was taken. I think within 2 years, the guy changing the spark plug in that GMC. So you just never know what happens in life. And here's an Irving Station, like I said. I have no idea what that helicopter was doing, but it sure looked like a faster way to travel than what we were doing on that particular dirt road. We drove that dirt road for 11 hours. It took us 11 hours to cover 300 miles. And there is really nothing on either end of it to speak of. So it's quite a piece of woods out through there. I have never seen so many bodies of water that was carrying brook trout and all of that. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with this helicopter, but it looks like somebody's getting a training lesson. Up and down, up and down, up and down. It looked kind of crazy when we was watching it too. You'll see here in a minute, I'm zooming in. Now that doesn't look like a student pilot in there. I guess I don't know what one is. And to be quite honest with you, I really don't know what one is. But they were bobbing up and down there for a few minutes. Well, we've ended the first leg of our trip, and we've ended up here at this, I've always called it Club Chambro, but I know that I pronounce it wrong. My Canadian friends can set the record straight. This is where we park the vehicles and all of that. Our vehicles will wait here for us. This is at the end of that 300-mile dirt road, and we're going to get on some bush planes here. This is the runway. My wife always gives me hell at this part of the trip because I don't really like to fly. But she says, you'll get on one of those old planes. And I guess them planes are from back in the 1950s, so they are quite old. No electronics, no compasses, no nothing from what I was told. Actually, you could see it was just an engine and a plane. There was some cabins here that we stayed in. That's what we spent the night in. We cannot fly out of there until the weather conditions were right. It was quite foggy that morning, so we wasn't sure if we were going to be able to leave or not.
We're waiting for our flight out this afternoon, I guess, around 11 o'clock. About 6 o'clock right now. I see my timer isn't working. This is the camp we spent last night in. Oh, like staying in a homeless shelter. Mechanic down there working on the plane we're going to fly on. That gives you a whole lot of confidence, doesn't it, honey?
Well, we're finally here. We pulled up to the shore after traveling in pickup trucks, airplanes. We traveled over 1,700 miles to get to this campsite in the backcountry of Canada. And I just cannot believe that we finally have touched down and it's time to start the hunt. What you're getting ready to see in the upcoming video is several thousand caribou. It's what's known as the Maine migration of the caribou that cross the country. They are constantly on the move. That's just how these animals roam around. They told us that we were a very fortunate group of hunters because very few hunters ever get to see the Maine migration of the caribou. And I am very proud to be able to share this part of my hunt with you. I had more fun videotaping these caribou than I ever did as far as taking one for meat. And I did take two for meat. I took a bull and a cow so that I could eat them both. And I ate absolutely every ounce of meat that came off my two caribou. We had caribou at camp and we had caribou at home once we got back here in the state of Maine. Very good tasting animal. We had an awesome trip. 30,000 caribou came through camp during the 10 days that we're there. Actually, we had a group of 30,000, and then towards the end of the week was another group of 20,000 caribou came through camp that week. So that was an incredible sight to see for a bunch of deer hunters from the state of Maine.
Caribou! Caribou!
By calling the caribou, you could stop the whole herd, as you saw right there. And that's how I was able to get some pictures, and that's how, actually, it's a really good way to hunt the caribou as well, when you need to get them to stop for a clean shot at a big bull. You see the little canoe right there? Well, we had to canoe over to this spot. And what we're doing, we're standing in the middle of a brook. I've cut the background noise back on here because the brook was just completely drowning me out. But I wanted to show you in this clip right here that there are two massive bulls that came through. Actually, it was more than that, but there was two that really stuck out. You can see them right there. There's one, two, three. There's actually four bulls in this clip right here that any hunter would be proud to put a caribou tag on. But unbelievable how many caribou were coming through while we were trying to trout fish. You can see right here, they're walking right in the water that we're fishing in. So I'm not sure there's too many brook trout left in that particular spot anymore, thanks to the caribou. Now you heard me talking about taking a bull out of that herd. It's not as easy as just shoot that bull. You cannot shoot into that herd and take out just one bull. Your bullet could pass through and you could shoot another caribou, or you could shoot 2 or 3 caribou at one time. You don't look at the size of that. That right there is one nice bull. And here comes another one right behind him. Look at the rack on that bull right there. Massive, massive rack. But anyways, you see all the cows and bulls around them right there. There's just no way to take one caribou out of there. So you have to wait for a nice clean shot. And that doesn't happen very often with this many animals that's in a group like that. You definitely don't want to shoot more than your limit of caribou. That is a big, big no-no. And that's just the way it is. So you have to wait for your shot, and sometimes your shot will pass you by. Even though you're seeing gigantic caribou right there, doesn't mean you have a good clean shot. Look at him. 2 of them right there. Boom, boom. Caribou were very funny. It was weird things that would spook them. What you're seeing right here is that same herd, but all of a sudden they just got spooked. We wonder if maybe they thought they saw a wolf or something like that, or a pack of wolves. But every once in a while, the whole herd would just jump up and run like this. And it would go on until they felt calm, and then look, boom, they stop, and they look back. It's just kind of a funny thing. If you're enjoying this video today, throw each grand a bone. Reach over and hit that subscribe button. This was a lot of work to put this video together. Enjoy the rest of the video. We got caribou hunt coming up and trout fishing and all of that. So enjoy, and I will see you on the end of the video. Here, as you can see, we just don't really have a shot. With so many caribou standing there, the risk of hitting 2 or 3, you kind of just have to let the whole herd go on by, just so that you don't risk shooting a caribou that you don't want, and kind of just weeding through the pack, trying to figure out how to make a perfect shot. Now this is what they call a canoe full of caribou. This is the boys after they went out for a hunt. I'm not in this canoe. I was in a different canoe. As you can see, I haven't been in the video very much. I am the guy behind the camera back then. But as you can see, there's not too much more room left in that canoe for another caribou. I think there is 3 caribou in that boat with 3 hunters. So that is definitely a load of caribou. Right after this clip, we will be going trout fishing. Here we have limited out that day on our caribou hunt. So now the rest of the trip will be devoted to brook trout fishing and all of that. And if you like brook trout, I have got some brook trout after this clip. I forget the numbers. This is way back in 1996. But there's hundreds of brook trout that we was able to catch, eat, and all of that. As you can see, they got to bail out the plane to keep it from sinking. This right here is the meat pole out in front of the cabin. Just getting some of the animals skun up and packaged up to be boxed up, and they are flown out to the freezers ahead of the hunters. So when we pick them up, they are chilled and cooled and ready for the ride home. And right here is inside of the meat house. This is a screened in meat house where you hang your caribou.
Caribou they like. Want to get pretty picture? Just a red light. I think I take him. He's pretty good. He's better than I catch him out. He is pretty fast. That's probably one of the best on red jack caught.
Nice one, huh? They're pretty, huh?
All pretty erotic colors. Wait a minute, hold her. You didn't like the caribou, you wouldn't get caught yet. Oh, got a headache. How you bite? I'll get it done. Welcome, boy.
Oh, yes. Look at that bastard fish.
I can't stand
Oh, told you.
Now for those of you that like brook trout, there's a pile of brook trout. I think there was like 80 brook trout on that table. I believe at the time there was no limit on brook trout back in that area. Like I said, this is all back in 1996, so I really don't remember all of the laws that went into fishing back there. But there was a pile of brook trout to be cleaned that morning.
He's counting English so we can understand.
One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one?
I was wrong. There was 58. But here's a great big view of the whole camp. The trip is getting ready to wrap up here. Just wonderful, wonderful trip. Them tents back there, they were half plywood and half tent. Wood stove, running water. We had a big tank that came down from up on the, that you filled up with a gas generator. Then everything was gravity feed into the tent. So it was running cold water. But outside of that, everything it was just a rustic cabin. There was a toilet that hooked up to a septic system. That too was gravity feed. So, but all these camps and stuff, I'm not sure if they're still in business or not, but what a nice place to go visit. What a nice place to fish, as well as caribou hunt. So this is going to wrap this up, and here's another stash of fish that we were able to bring back to the cabin close to the end of the trip. I'm not exactly sure here again how many was there. Like I said, this is all back in 1996. But the brook trout fishing was phenomenal.